In the last few years, the conversation around Nigeria's future has increasingly centered on the youth. With more than 60% of the country's population below the age of 35, the nation's human capital strength lies overwhelmingly in its young people. Yet for decades, this demographic advantage has been threatened by unemployment, underemployment, and an education industry gap that has left millions unable to translate their talents into meaningful livelihoods. And that's where Naseni steps in. Those initials being the short form for the National Agency for Science and Engineering Infrastructure. The Chief Executive Officer of that agency, Suleiman Halilu, joins us now to discuss how to deploy innovation in empowering youth by turning ideas into viable products and building a population of inventors, engineers, and tech entrepreneurs. Well, the Chief Executive Officer of the agency, Halilu Suleiman, joins us now. We're going to be discussing how to deploy innovation, empower youth, turning ideas into viable products. Thanks so much for joining us, Halilu.
Yeah, also.
Thank you, and good afternoon.
Good afternoon. It's good to hear of what is transpiring since taking office. What major reforms or new directions have you personally introduced at Naseni?
Well, we've been doubling down on how to increase Nigeria's capacity, especially around the production of local components. Prior to this administration, kicking off, Naseni has been focused a lot on research. But with Mr. President's direction, what he wanted to see is products in the market. And if you want to, build an industry and have products in the market, then you have to have a holistic approach, from where you begin to develop these ideas, where you attract investment, what direction, what are government priority areas, and so on. This is what gave birth to our blueprint or our strategic roadmap, which we've been quiet implementing. 2 years down the line, the results have been enormous. We have nothing less than 40 market-ready products. As we speak now, our showroom is ready for unveiling, which will unveil early next year, where you see all Naseni products in partnership with the private sector, both local and internationally. But particularly, you have to put efforts around the youths and women. I remember we invited you for our Dealt Her program, which is developing engineering leaders through her, where we give women special advantage around engineering to ensure that we close the gap, the gender imbalance in that particular sector. And now we are talking about the Innovate Naija project, which is targeted mainly at youths that are very creative. Oftentimes you see on social media, Instagram, Facebook, you see, okay, there's a kid in Ondo, he has developed maybe a solar generator or something interesting, or an electric motorcycle, and so on. But how do we give them support, and how do we bring them into our ecosystem, and how do we make this very open, so that from a young age you start giving them the right kind of support and mentorship that they need to be able to scale this product into commercial venture. And we've seen examples happening from all over the world, especially from the West, where you see companies coming out of garages or small spaces. But we know that our youths are very creative, one of the most vibrant in the world. But that support that people call on, this is where we introduce the Innovate Naija project, which is positioned to be the biggest innovation challenge, at least in the West African region.
Okay, so we'll talk about the Innovate Naija, in a bit. But in the meantime, I'd like you to tell us, the gaps that you identified in Nigeria's innovation ecosystem, especially for young people, and how Naseni is now accessible to young innovators and researchers under your leadership.
Okay, the first gap we realize is the fact that people do research and development without thinking of commercialization. Yes, it is easy to build something fancy, in your backyard or in your room, but how do you multiply it into hundreds or thousands of products that can be accessible by the average Nigerian, and also how do you give after-sales support? So that is a big gap. And I think in general, one of the challenges or gaps I've realized is we try to do everything all at once. Every country has its own competitive advantage. Some it's assembling products simply, some is producing certain components, some is software, but oftentimes we find out that a lot of us want to do everything at once, and you spread yourself thin, and then you reduce your competitive edge.
And I want to talk about the categories of innovators or ideas that you would be targeting with the challenge that you all have going on.
Well, Innovate Nigeria is quite open because we don't want to restrict creativity. When you talk about science and engineering, you can have innovation in almost any sector. But of course, as a nation that has certain priorities, when you're talking about renewables, health, security, we like to put we give more weight to when we are marking, these applications to areas that are of more interest to the government and can solve pressing national issues.
So well, really, I'd like to know how young innovators, will be supported after submitting their ideas or even after winning the challenge.
Well, as you are aware, we have a grand prize of 250 million. But I always like to move away from the money part of it and focus on other intangible things that can make a big difference in their life. So, for example, we have one of the biggest CNC collection. CNC machine collection in West Africa. Having access to a lab or a factory like that is life-changing. We also arrange mentors, to work with these winners. We also give them other intangible support. For example, you can be an engineer, but if you are taking products to the market, you need some commercial knowledge, accounting knowledge, or at least some soft skill that will help you propel, because the world has changed in terms of how we build and sell products. We also give them access to our various institutes. We have about 12 institutes focused on various things. Some focus on agriculture, some focus on hydraulics, some focus on mechatronics. So depending on what kind of product you have, we can pair you with our institute to give you the right support. And don't forget, we have the Naseni Innovation Hub, which is basically like a business hub that gives a crash course, sort of like a master's for startups. So there you see what gaps are they having, what kind of challenges, is it financial, is it regulatory, and how we can put weight behind them to be able to unlock those challenges so that they can make something good out of their ideas.
And is there a pathway for turning these innovations into real products, jobs, or businesses in the future?
Definitely, that's the whole idea. We don't want to delve into something that doesn't end on a shelf or doesn't have a dent in the economy. So everything we do, we don't support researches, we don't support innovation challenges, we don't support programs if we don't believe that at some point it will be able to carve out a product that the average Nigerian can use and it will have some positive impact to the economy.
So as we wrap up, what is your long-term vision for building Nigeria's innovation ecosystem over the next decade?
Our long-term vision is, number one, we understand Nigeria is a very local market in terms of product consumption. We love to consume locally made products. So the long-term vision would be to support Nigerians to build things for not just for Nigeria, but for Africa and a global scale. We have a population that is growing. We have young population. A lot of countries are doing automation because they have a declining population, but we can leverage that. Now, one of the areas I think we have a strong advantage is area of assembling products. China was there some time back, likewise Singapore, but we need to be able to have some value add in everything we do around the country, from our mineral resources, and be able to export. So in the end of a 5-year long term, we need to be able to see more forex coming into the country, create more jobs, and reduce our exposure to importation for products that we consume here locally.
Well, thank you so much for joining us this afternoon, Chief Executive Officer of Naseni, Khalil Suleiman Halilu.